It's like an alternate ending for Harry Potter. Manacled. This one right. Now, even with hearing a lot of good things about it, I was still not spoiled. I didn't know what I was getting into. All I knew was it was a Draco Hermione romance, and it was a Harry Potter and Handmaid's Tale crossover. I got across this, I started to read it, and I just completely fell in love with this book. It is something that I feel like us as adults, growing up as a child in Harry Potter universe when it was coming out, the books, the movies, all that stuff, and then being able to see it in a different light in adult eyes, it was just an amazing experience. And it was like reliving the whole universe in like a different perspective. God, I don't know, I'm crying so much. Seeing Harry Potter is like through your child's eyes, through your child self's eyes. Going back to it is very nostalgic. I feel like things in this book, obviously you can't handle as a child. Obviously, this is for a mature audience only. It's for adults. It's so amazing that the author of this fan fiction, we're basically the same age. So she's like 32, I'm 33. But when she made this, it was, I think, in 2018 when she started. And I just now started reading it, knowing that it's like we all love this story so much, and to explore it in a different aspect was just so amazing. Even though it was so many things that were sad that happened in this book that I feel like as a child you would not have obviously been able to like cope with at all. But being able to do it now as an adult, it's like it made it more real. Not so much like everything's gonna be turning out amazing. So with this book, it literally just transformed everything. Because with this book, it starts basically after Order of the Phoenix. Where instead of Voldemort being defeated, it's like he ends up defeating the Order of the Phoenix. Like it starts out with such force to where we're used to it just obviously from Order of the Phoenix to the Half-Blood Prince, and how everything happens or unfolds, and it just doesn't go that way in this book. It's like an alternate ending for Harry Potter. You get a sense of a different perspective on things with this book. Instead of it being all about Harry and Ron, and you're getting it from a different point of view when it comes to Hermione. Hermione ends up being the main character, and I love that. And we get to go through how she feels with things and how she goes through everything. And when the obstacles that she faces and how she feels and just so many things. And then even feeling just bad for Draco. Like you feel so... he's more human. Even though the things that he goes through in this book, and the things he does in this book, it's very inhumane. But he's still sort of human, and you just feel for him. So he's not just that bully that hates Harry Potter. He's a broken person that you just end up hoping and cheering for in this book. Through this whole journey, and you cheer for them. You want them to be something. This book has a total of 77 chapters. There goes through a time in the beginning where it starts out with Hermione is basically imprisoned in the Hogwarts castle. You don't know why. You don't know like how she got there. She's just completely at a loss of memory. And you go through this journey with her of how everything unfolded after the war. Because only thing she remembers is seeing Harry, Ron, and everybody die in such a horrific way. And that Voldemort did defeat the Order and won. So you have the first 6 chapters going through the process of her being imprisoned and her basically getting involved with this sort of order, I guess you could say, that Voldemort wanted to happen, to where she has a purpose, not so good of a purpose, but he knows that she has value. She's valuable to him because she has in her brain some secrets from the order, because she is known as the last member of the remaining of the order. So she is very valuable. The problem is she has no recollection of anything. A lot of her memories have gone, and they try to basically extract memories from her by going in and just tearing it apart, trying to pull through all these memories to find what's lost, because she could be holding a secret that can defeat him. And obviously he's threatened by it. He basically has a plan in order to just take over the whole wizarding world, to where he just creates all these followers, and he gets these wizarding families, well-known wizarding families like the Malfoys, gets them involved, and has these families include their like Death Eaters and the families and everything, just to basically raise a bigger army for himself. And the problem is these wizarding families that he has already, these powerful families, they are not able to reproduce, which becomes a problem to him, because obviously if they don't have children, he can't continue on with raising his army and getting more powerful. So he has to go and find these witches that were captured from the Order, and not really the Order, just the Resistance. And he creates them to be surrogates for these families, for these well-known wizarding families. So that way they'll have these babies, take them from the surrogates, and then raise them to be the evil that is Voldemort. He ends up pairing Hermione with his top Death Eater, you could say, which they call the High Reeve. This High Reeve is where we find out is Draco Malfoy. So when Draco Malfoy gets a hold of Hermione, she becomes his surrogate. And she goes throughout this whole time, the first 6 chapters, of just pure torture. They have these manacles on their arms that are basically tethered to their master, I guess you could say. These manacles are basically enchanted to where if she tried to use any of her magic, it would basically just suck the magic from her, just to keep taking it in. So there's no way for her to be able to, it would literally burn her wrists. So that prevents her from trying to escape. Since he's tethered basically to her, he can hear her thoughts, or he knows what's going to be happening, and things like certain things in her mind. So she's put through pure torture. And of course, throughout this process, since they do have to reproduce, they go through rape scenes. And she does fall pregnant. You see she has these excruciating headaches, all these things that she goes through. Once she has these headaches, she's basically ends up from there going into a flashback. Then from there you have 36 chapters of flashbacks. This is where it really gets involved in how everything ended up unraveling, and how everybody ended up dying, what the decisions they were making, what their plan was, and how Hermione felt one way about certain things and nobody was listening to her. She was just the healer, to where she wasn't good enough, I guess, to fight in the war. She was just always there to help heal all the people who went out there to fight. You end up finding out certain things that she gets involved in, that she's asked to do, that make her encounter certain people. She ends up learning through this that she actually already had a connection with Draco. And she finds out that they actually fell in love during the war. So when she comes back after the 36 chapters, when the flashbacks are gone, and she's gone through everything and how everybody died, and she was captured, and people were tortured, and it was just so many traumatic experiences that happened to her. She was constantly getting constant panic attacks and just seizures and just so many things because of all the things that she actually went through. And it's just so sad. And then especially finding out that the person that she loves was the person that was hurting her the most in the first half of the book. Or the first quarter of the book. But you find out there's obviously a lot of reasons why that was happening, you know, because if there was moments where Voldemort had to go into her mind to try and find the memories that she had locked away. So it helped her by not having those memories anymore, because if Voldemort would have found out, then Draco would have been immediately killed. So he had to kind of play the part, because he would see those memories that she has of Draco now. His bad, horrible side, his Death Eater side of how he treated her, to make it believable. And it was really hard to kind of see her go through that whole realization of falling in love and then finding out that that person was just the one making you go through so much pain. It literally felt like you were her finding all this out. So, well, it's it's not an easy book to go through. It's not. There's plenty of times that I just wanted to cry every time I was reading. But it was just the fact that when they finally reunited to where she remembered and he realized that she remembered, and that was just so like, it was one of those moments where you just like, you're happy, but then you're like, shit, like like it's horrible, but it's so good. You feel happy, but then you're like, how are you gonna get back from this? Like, you just treated her like shit for this whole time, and then now you're just like, well, you know, now she realizes, but now it's sad because it's like she views him in a certain light, but it's confusing because she loves him and she remembers she loves him, but she remembers the bad things he did to her, knowing obviously the reasons why. It's just, imagine, like, he had to really like put on a mask, a Death Eater mask. He literally had to like for him to have to be able to do that, that would be so hard. The following chapters just go through how they try to basically, she tries to escape, tries to help Draco try to escape the Death Eaters, because this whole time Draco doesn't want to be a Death Eater. He never wanted to be, even in the other books, like he never wanted to be a Death Eater. Like, it was just something that was pushed onto him. His whole tactic was revenge. He wanted revenge on Voldemort. And the way he could do it was to get as close as possible to him. It's just his plan was not to get involved with Hermione. That was not his plan. But it ended up being the plan, or ended up being the fate of them. And that's what created such a beautiful romantic story, when it was just unintentional, and it's just, there was no reasoning behind that even ever happening. It just did, and it worked. The ending, it's like a happy ending, but then it's a sad ending, and it's just, they get to what they want in the end. The stuff they have to go through to get to what they want, the things that they have to sacrifice, it's just so sad. They end up escaping and living, you know, isolated, basically, to run away. Because at the end of the day, they do end up, there's a lot of spoilers, and I'm sorry. If you don't want to hear them, then, you know. But I'm hoping it reaches people who have also read it more than anything. And maybe you could comment back and forth on things. In order for him to obviously be his right-hand man, to be his right-hand man, he had to just do so many things that necessarily he didn't want to do, but he had to do it to play the part. He ended up being his hands, in a way. It's like Voldemort sat back and just let him do his dirty work for him. So there were records, and a whole bunch of things of the one killing all these innocent witches and wizards and stuff was always the High Reeve, which was Draco. He was always the one doing these killing curses and all these things, and it was literally killing his soul. And Hermione had to try and help him fight it, because if not, it would have totally consumed him, and he would have just been a dark soul. But she obviously was able to help him to defeat those demons. In the history book, they basically talk about everything that happened, and there's a whole chapter about Draco, and it's talking about all the things he's done, bad, all that stuff. He was not portrayed as a hero or helping at all the Order, even though he was, because he was the spy. That was the agreement. So he helped, but it wasn't shown. Nowhere did it show in the book that he helped. It was purely just him. Oh, God. Him being the bad guy. They made him, like they said in the book, he is the version of Voldemort for our kids now. Like, in the Wizarding World. That's how it made it to be. And it's so sad because it's far from it. And there's a section in the book at the end. And I can't because gosh. That part just like, I feel like you get a happy ending, but then the epilogues come. So you have all the chapters, the flashbacks, the chapters again, and then you have 3 epilogues. So at the end of the chapters originally, you could end it there to where they escape and they're happy. Then you have 3 epilogues that talk about more in depth on what happens with their children. And there's so many things I'm leaving out, but I'm trying to leave out because I don't want to spoil it. Basically, the epilogues just complete everything. And just that last epilogue at the end of that. Then I'm looking at the history book. At the end, it shows a picture of the trio. Harry, Ron, and Hermione. And in the caption, it says, "The Hogwarts Trio, Christmas 2002. So it's a picture of all of them together. Harry, Ron, and Hermione. They're hugging, whatever. And you could tell the way the picture is. It's kind of like smiling. Like, they smile for the picture, but not, anything special. Because of everything that's going on. And it says, Harry Potter with friends, Ron Weasley. And it sees, in parentheses, says, C. Weasley, Ron, in chapter 7, because there's a chapter devoted for him in chapter 7 in that history book. And Muggle-born witch, Hermione Granger. It says, Granger left England at the start of the Second Wizarding War to study healing abroad, right? She survived the war, but died during imprisonment while a surrogate in the repopulation program. Oh, gosh. This last line. It says, she was a non-active member of the Order of the Phoenix and did not fight. Oh, God. That broke me. She did a lot, right? And the stuff that she did was impactful and made shit happen. But she's written in the book like if she wasn't even anything. And it makes you think in real life. Like, it makes you think of all that shit that we probably read in these history books. Like, oof. Nobody really gets the credit they deserve. But it wasn't true. Like, she literally did so much in this book. To be just result to just that is crazy. But there's things I've left out. Because I'm not going to tell the whole story. But there's things in there that I definitely left out that were important and need to be definitely read instead of me saying. I've heard that there's a different way you could read it, which I know would probably break me even more. So they say if you read it in chronological order, instead of the way the author wrote it, which is the first 6 chapters and then flashbacks, 36 chapters of flashbacks, and then goes back to the rest of the chapters of present day. People have read it to where you read the flashbacks first, so it makes it in chronological order. And then you go into, from there, all the things that she has to go through. And thinking about that just makes... I don't know if I could take that. I want to do it, but I don't know if I could do that. That's going to be a lot. I need a break. I need like a week break from this. Maybe go right back in and read it that way. But it's going to be harder that way. I know it is. But to be a fan fiction like this and to be so well done, it's incredible. And it made me, in a way, just fall in love with the Wizarding World all over again. Even though all the horrible things that happen, obviously, to the characters that we love and stuff, it still just made me just like see it in such a different light. So now that when I watch the movies, it's gonna be like, dang, the what ifs are gonna keep coming up. What if that actually happened? Oh my gosh. They did take it off of where it was on the website. It was like on a AO3, I think it was called. So a fan fiction website. Because the author did get a book deal with this. But her name is Senlin Yu. That's the author's name. And she created the book called Alchemized, which is basically the same as Manacled. So Manacled is the fan fiction. Alchemized is going to be her published book. I'm excited to read this because I like the original so much to where it's going to be interesting to read it in a different way. I feel like it might not hit me as much as this one did, just because this involved characters that I already knew and loved. So it's different. But this will be a all new characters and storyline, I guess. I don't know. So I know it won't be the same. But I am excited to read it. Especially to see how much she evolved as an author. Just what a ride. Anyways, thank you for watching my video and going through this with me, I guess. Just talking about it. Let me know in the comments anything. Your thoughts, if you read it, how you feel. You like me to where you can't even stop sobbing. I feel like I don't have anybody to talk to about this stuff. I feel like I need to take it. Like, here, come on, let's back and forth. Come on, comment something. We'll talk about it, because anything that has to do with this, I want to talk about it. I want to just like, yes, what? Ask me questions, or I'll ask you questions, or I don't know. Back and forth. I just want to just get involved in it. Anyways, thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm hoping to also make more of maybe these YouTube videos talking about these books. Any books, because now that I have a Kindle, I feel like I'm going to be reading a lot more things. I'm excited to explore these books, more books, and maybe post more on here talking about these books and just finding these people like you, who are like me, who like these type of things. I might end up reading another fan fiction. I'm not sure. We'll see. I think this one just raised the bar so high. And if I feel like going anywhere else, I'm not going to get the same effect. Make sure to follow me on here, or you can follow me on Instagram, Potter Vimos, or TikTok if it's still around. But I feel like I'm going to be posting more on YouTube than anything. I feel like long form content, I feel it's going to be even better for me. I'm excited more about that now. So yeah, see you next time.